This is Seahawks Today. I am your host, Will Ortner, and the NFL Combine has been underway for the last couple of days. Still have a full week of content that we're going to have here on the channel, so make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss any of it. But I'll tell you right now, rumors are starting to swirl, and they involve all 32 teams in the National Football League, including our Seattle Seahawks. Now, what I think is the most important with these rumors around the Seahawks is they are just that. Rumors. So you have to make sure that you are listening to who the source is that is kind of spreading what rumors are going out right now about the Seahawks. But more importantly, you kind of have to gauge for yourself, is this something that I believe could potentially happen? I've got 3 rumors right now that are going around. I'm going to tell you just how likely I think that they are. Honestly, I think one that I hadn't been paying attention to at all. Not only is it a potential rumor, it's a likely rumor the more and more that I think about it, and I don't know how I feel about it yet. Before we get into any of that, though, make sure that you go and you hit that follow button over on X. Right now, I'm at 1,251 new followers. My goal is to get to 1,300. Why is that? Well, that's because since I joined Chat Sports, that would be me doubling my entire follower count. I came in here with just over 600, so we're going to say that 1,300 is that double number. So if you would like to help me out, you can go in and hit that follow button on Twitter. What are you going to get? You're going to get extra content around the Seattle Seahawks that you just don't get anywhere else. So make sure that you go onto X and hit that follow button at Will Ortner. That's my real account. So make sure you go and do that. Could DeMarcus Lawrence be retiring? It's not that crazy to think about, and this is something that honestly scares the pants off of me because of how well DeMarcus Lawrence has played since he's been in a Seahawks uniform. Now, there are a lot of people that are already kind of going out there saying there is a potential for Lawrence to retire because, well, he's accomplished everything that he wants to accomplish. He's a guy who's well past 30 years old. He has a family that he has to think about. Playing in Seattle, that's not close to his home. That's him being out on the road. It's very different than from where he had been previously, obviously. So I do think it is important to note that DeMarcus Lawrence, he could have looked at this as more of a mercenary mission. How do I make sure that I get that elusive Super Bowl ring that I've always wanted, and then I can ride off into the sunset? The reason why I'm thinking this way is because ESPN's Brady Henderson had this to say on DeMarcus Lawrence. This is a guy who's 33 years old. His wife just gave birth to their 6th child, and he just won a Super Bowl for the first time in his career. So if ever there was a situation where a guy could decide to ride off into the sunset, it could be this one. That's scary. And when I heard Brady Henderson say that, I came out and I kind of started thinking about it. I was like, yeah, man. As well as DeMarcus Lawrence played this year, remember, he wasn't supposed to play as well as he did this season. This was supposed to be kind of like that last-ditch effort to go and get that Super Bowl ring, and he did that. Is he the type of person, is he the type of player that wants to go out on top? And in fact, I'm going to ask you that right now in our comment section. Will DeMarcus Lawrence retire this offseason? Yes or no? Give me your gut reaction down below. The more I think about it, the more that I think I still lean no. But to sit here and say that I confidently say he will not retire, I just can't get on board with that one. Now, Brady Henderson, he's not the only person who's the bearer of bad news right now for Seahawk fans because one Brock Huard had this to say on DeMarcus Lawrence when he thought about the situation about a possible retirement for him. Well, when you win that Super Bowl and you have your 6th child as well, and after the euphoria of all the high comes down, yeah, I think you look in the mirror and go, can I do that again? Can I bring the same intensity? And I think that's the most important part that people are talking about. And I think Huard hit the nail right on the head because Huard is a former player. I mean, shoot, he's a former Seahawk, former UW Husky. When you look at the season that Lawrence had, yeah, he was playing like like his hair was on fire. He was a guy who was showing everyone that he still had an edge to him. He could still play with the best guys in the National Football League. A ton of tackles, a ton of TFLs, getting after the quarterback with a ton of sacks. Had a lot of big plays that created turnovers for the Seattle Seahawks. But when you look at his last 4 seasons, you can tell that there is a slight decrease in that production. And some of the production that he was able to find in Seattle was large in part because he wasn't asked to be out on the field nearly as much, and that's something that Macdonald likes to do. Obviously, there would be much more of a rotation. Does DeMarcus Lawrence want to continue at the spot that he is in, or does he potentially even take a slightly lesser than role, a smaller snap share, if you will, so that Seattle can start to work in some of the younger guys? Now, I still say that I think he returns. I do. I believe that DeMarcus Lawrence isn't going to retire. And in fact, if he did retire, it would be, well, really heartbreaking for us. I thought that he was an excellent addition to this team. He fit everything that we wanted to do in Seattle. And I think the most important thing that he did was that he continued to push this organization forward. He was a major part of why they won. I think that he does return because I think that there's an opportunity not just to win one Super Bowl, but to win multiple. And I think he knows that. But I'll tell you right now, I'm a little bit nervous about what could potentially happen with DeMarcus Lawrence as kind of the euphoria settles around whether he comes back to Seattle or not. Something that I'm not nervous about is the Seattle drinking team and how everyone is going to have a responsibly good time on St. Patrick's Day. Go grab your Seattle drinking team shirt today. I've got the Mob Mentality made out of the same material. Super, super comfortable. I love this style of t-shirt. We've got the green as well as the navy. You just got to go to chatsports.com/cgreen to grab yours today. We're going to have that link in the comment section and description of today's video. Super easy. Just click it. It'll take you right where you need to go. $29.99, super fresh. You're going to look awesome. So make sure that you go pick one up today. Like I said, in the comment section and description of today's video, you click that link, you're going to get everything that you need. The next big rumor that we got to talk about with the Seahawks, I don't know that I started it, but I definitely played a role in it, not to brag about myself, not to make this show about me, but I think that the Seahawks might have a new draft target, and his name is Anthony Hill Jr. Now, for those of you who do not know about Anthony Hill Jr., he was speaking today at the NFL Combine, and he came out and he actually had a very interesting thing to say, something that I did not expect necessarily from a guy who played linebacker at Texas. Anthony Hill Jr. says that he's a big Seahawks guy, something that I put out on my social media. By the way, go give me that follow. Let's get to 1,300 subscribers. And honestly, I would love to sit here and tell you all the different ways that he talked about it, but I think it's better for you to just hear him say it himself.
I'll say again, I was a big Seahawk guy, so I watched a lot of Bobby Wagner, Cam Chancellor, and those guys. But now I said I really watched Edgerrin Cooper over Sean. I watched a lot of Frankie Louvu. I really like how physical he is playing downhill, and really those are the guys that I really watch now.
You look at the comments on my videos right now, and Seahawks fans love him. I love him. When you got someone who's saying he grew up wanting to be like a guy named Bobby Wagner, yeah, I want that guy around my team. Yeah, I want that guy in Seattle. Yeah, I want that guy joining this organization. It would be a dream come true for him. And more importantly, I know that he would put everything on the line to make sure that he was successful. When he was over at Texas, the kid played pretty darn well. He's a very good player. He's the type of linebacker that isn't afraid to get after it there with the offensive lineman. Ton of tackles, even added himself in to the pass rush as well. And he's from Denton, a place that I visited 3 times, and I found it to be rather lovely. Dane Brugler had this to say on Anthony Hill Jr. when it came to his top 100 players in this draft, which, by the way, Anthony Hill Jr. was in about the middle of that, right around that 50 range. An impressive size, speed prospect. Hill brings athletic versatility to the field with his range versus the run, speed as a blitzer, and change of direction in coverage. His stack and shed efficiency must improve, but he plays with toughness to evade blocks and continue his pursuit. I'll tell you right now, if Anthony Hill Jr. wants to play Will and Drake Thomas decides to go somewhere else, or the Seahawks decide that Hill fits this defense a little bit more than Thomas, then I'm all ears and I'm all in for it. Now, Ernest Jones is going to be our Mike, and he's going to be our Mike for quite some time, and that is the position that I do believe Hill would rather play in the National Football League. But if he's willing to play that Will, the sidekick role, I'll tell you right now, he could be pretty darn good, pretty darn impressive, and he's the type of person that I do think would excel in Mike Macdonald's defense. Is he someone that the Seahawks could look for in that second round, a day 2 pick? Yeah, I think so. I think he's someone that could definitely fit into a role here. Make sure that you hit that sub button on Seahawks Today. We're trying to catch up to our Knicks Now channel, by the way. We're closing in. We're not all the way there, but I think we got a pretty darn good shot of getting there. So make sure that you come on in and hit that sub button. Last thing that we need to talk about are some potential free agent targets for the Seattle Seahawks, because right now the Seahawks do seem to be kind of closing in on some potential different targets that they could have that they know they could get on to their team. And it does feel like the edge rusher position is going to be something that the Seattle Seahawks target. Right now, when you look at this squad, there's rumors that Uchenna Nwosu could potentially be cut. We just broke down the rumors, of course, around DeMarcus Lawrence and his potential retirement. Boye Mafe is a free agent. So who could the Seahawks look for in NFL free agency to potentially bring in? The first player that I want to take a look at is Jaelan Phillips. Now, Phillips is the type of guy at that edge rusher role that he's still kind of young. He's someone that's still kind of growing into what he can become. When you look at the last season that he had, obviously ended up in Philadelphia there at the end, had a pretty darn good year, has a decent amount of tackles, gets after the quarterback as well, and that's coming off of one of the more severe injury seasons that we have seen. So when I look at Jaelan Phillips, that's a guy who can do all the things that Seattle would want out of an edge rusher in this type of defense. Now, when you look at the stats, his last real full year was 2022. He had a big year, played very well. Obviously, this year he played well, but he's coming off of back-to-back years where he had significant injuries. So the fact that Phillips was able to shake off those 2 years and have one of the better years of his career, I think that's very impressive and very important to kind of note. When I look at Phillips, I think good young edge rusher. Is the youngest? No, not necessarily. He's not a 21, 22-year-old that you're going to be able to get for cheap. You're going to have to pay a little bit to go get Phillips, but he's someone that can plug into this defense and do a lot of really good things. The other person that I want to take a look at, he's a little bit older, but of course it would be Bengals edge rusher Trey Hendrickson. And there have been rumors about Hendrickson for quite some time, whether he was going to stay in Cincinnati, whether he was not going to stay in Cincinnati. Obviously, there's been a little bit of disagreement between him and the organization. And so I thought it was interesting that on day one of the NFL Combine, the Bengals GM ended up answering some questions around Trey Hendrickson, and this is what he had to say.
We're back to Trey. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about how we're gonna deploy our resources and what our intention is with the tag, or I'm not gonna close any doors on any player that we've had or any of our free agents up here today. I'm just not going to do that. Trey's been a great player for us. He didn't have the year he wanted this year. We didn't have the year we wanted this year. Those are factors, and we'll see where we go from there. But in terms of how we're going to deploy the tag, if we are going to, that's not something I'm going to talk about here.
Obviously, last year was not the type of season that Trey Hendrickson wanted to have. You're seeing those sack numbers go drastically down. But 23 and 24, he was one of the best edge rushers in the National Football League. I think some of this has to do with a lot of the turmoil that's been going on in Cincinnati. And, well, of course, he was dealing with some injuries. I don't hate this. Now, I will say this, Trey Hendrickson would be more of a player that you bring in and he's only going to be there for a couple of years. So to me, the price tag would have to be right. Or you're saying, hey, Seattle, they could potentially lose a guy like DeMarcus Lawrence in a retirement situation. Let's go grab someone. We know he's going to work. We can plug him in, play, and he's going to be absolutely freaking awesome for us. So I don't hate it. It just has to be right, and you have to make sure that the money is right on it because Hendrickson's going to want to get paid. He's going to want to get paid a lot of money. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video. Make sure that you smash that sub button. We are trying to grow the channel. The road to 100K is upon us, and I think we can get there rather quickly. And follow me on social media. I got a ton of great content that's coming out for y'all all the time. At Will Ortner on X and on Instagram. Keep you up to date with everything going on with the Seattle Seahawks and get you a little bit of extra content as well. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video, and I can't wait to see you next time.